MLVC.
Excuse me, but I'm singing in one key and you're singing in another.
Poor is the man whose pleasures depend on the permission of another.
Open the door now and suffocate. Just give me a fan.
I don't trust any man who hasn't kissed another man.
I'm waiting.
All right, people, it's time to get your dancing shoes on. You're listening to MLVC. It's all Madonna, all the time.
Welcome to the party, bitches.
Hey everybody, it's one of the bitches, Ben.
Hey everybody, it's Liberty, your resident bitch.
Do I have to be a bitch too?
No.
Yeah, if you want to come to the party, what the hell?
Right,
If you want to be in the gang.
Oh yeah, well, hey everybody, it's Stefan, your original bitch. Welcome to another
There
episode
you
of
go.
There we go. Welcome to another episode of MLVC. After our recent Ray of Light 25th anniversary episode, where the revelation that Skin is apparently a fan favorite on the album, we decided it was time to do a deep dive into all things Skin. Are you excited? You've been looking forward to this, haven't you?
I'm very excited.
I have exfoliated all of my skin in preparation for this episode.
And I put my hands on my skin, so...
No,
And
you did.
I do
did
know,
you?
and I do know
Shocking.
myself from somewhere, imagine that.
Yeah, I was in a couple bars this past weekend in New York City, and I think a couple of those bathrooms knew your skin as well, Benjamin.
That's entirely possible. I mean, things I've said sound like things I've said before. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Liberty, you are looking very luminescent today.
Am I?
Have you? You look freshly showered.
Well, you know, after I made it through the wilderness, I decided that a shower was in order, and so
Yeah, what did you do? Where were you?
Well, I went camping with my 11-year-old because, you know, I don't know, the world is just so busy and so full of noise, and we wanted to get away. And so we went to the most popular state park in Texas, Garner State Park, and we weren't at peace, but we enjoyed ourselves. So
You had a little eat, pray, love experience, basically.
A little bit, yes. There was definitely no showering. There was maybe a little sweating up a couple of mountains here and there. Well, not mountains, I mean hills, right? We don't really have big mountains here, but yeah. And my son made me do 2 long hikes up very steep rocks, and I live to tell. So yeah, that's
Beautiful.
why. And I'm just, you know, feeling fresh
Yeah, you do.
faced.
You look very one at nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
You're
well,
a candy perfume girl now. After the sky fit heaven.
I was
I'm here
traveling
all
down
night.
my road.
Boom.
Yeah, you are really on fire today. This is
Oh,
going.
I'm ready. I'm
My
ready.
goodness.
Well, okay, so for those who might not remember, the big chaos and controversy from our previous episode was that dun dun dun, Skin is not my favorite song on the album. It happens to be a skippable song for Stefan, and I will reiterate, it is not that I don't think it's a good song. I just don't think it's one of my favorites on the album. There's always been other songs on Ray of Light that I'm just so anxious to get to that I skip through Skin. However, I learned very quickly that other people in the Madonna fandom don't feel the same way as I do about Skin. And so we're here to have a little breakdown on the who's and what's and ins and outs of Skin. And yeah, I don't know. Ben, do you want to, why don't you lead this, since Skin is one of your favorites?
It is one of my favorites, but I think more so than a breakdown, we want to have a breakthrough for you, Stefan. Especially because this is what the audience... Yeah, well, not an intervention, but we want to unpack this, right? Because clearly in the live episode, the majority did
Attacked
anyone
me?
else? They didn't attack you.
I know.
You can't attack somebody with love. I don't recall anyone else that was in the audience or thereafter on social media saying that they also skipped Skin. And I've spent the last couple of days going back through the Internet Archive, rereading all the reviews. You weren't alone in your disdain for the song. There were a couple of one-off reviews. I think Rolling Stone, actually, I read so many of them, they're blending together, and I hated the tone of the Rolling Stone when, that we're dismissive of Skin. But for myself, and I think a lot of other people, it's the writing, it's the song, the lyrics, and sort of the melody, which admittedly gets buried in that sort of fast-paced mix once the second verse kicks in. So I guess we should start with what about the song made you want to skip it?
I think some of the other songs on Ray of Light are just so bombastic and energetic and euphoric that Skin didn't sort of match that equation. Because in the week since our live episode, I have done copious re-listens to Skin, to the point where, I think I texted both you and Liberty saying, FYI, I've had Skin stuck in my head all day. I don't know.
I saw your reels. Mm-hmm.
You saw my reel. I did that for you, Benjamin. Literally,
I appreciated it.
I was sitting there just humming to myself, do I know you? And I was like, oh my God, I have to do a Skin reel for Ben, just so he knows that the song is with me. It's with me. And that brought me to another realization, was that I think other than watching her do Skin in the recording studio during Ultrasound on MTV, there was no other touch point during the Ray of Light era that Skin ever made itself very prevalent. Whereas a song like Frozen or Ray of Light or Nothing Really Matters or Power of Goodbye, those had live performances, those had videos, sometimes they even made it onto a tour. So there were a lot of times where, as one does with songs, you can become emotionally attached to a song. I think a lot of the things about Madonna songs and Madonna music is we were in a certain place at a certain time when we heard that song. We were in a relationship with a person, or we broke up with somebody and a Madonna song came on and it speaks to us and it resonates with us. And I think a lot of Ray of Light had that for me. And maybe the scant couple that did not have a video, did not get a performance, did not really get any radio play, like Swim or To Have or Not to Hold or Skin, those few songs just never really resonated with me. And however, I love Swim because I find Swim very sort of melodic and beautiful, whereas Skin just never had that melody that sang to me or sounded pretty to me.
Okay. Well, before I deep dive into some of the elements, Liberty, what's your take on Skin?
Well, just as Stefan mentioned, in Ultrasound, that's the real first taste. And I think that when I heard that, I was so sonically excited by what was possibly on the horizon for the Ray of Light album. I never try to project what's the next album going to sound like, because she always surprises us. And that's part of the reason that we love her. But when I heard Skin on Ultrasound, for me, in fact, it's funny that you say that, because to me, that's why it is so memorable, because to me, that was the first inkling of what was to come to me. And I don't think Ray of Light has that all throughout. It has a lot of different influences, but much like Madame X does, it's not all the same sort of sound, but it has a sonic theme, if you will.
Right.
So I don't know. I personally think that it's funny to me, because it seems like Stefan needs a visual for the song to really do something for him, whereby, for example, Mergirl has none, but it's still a success. Maybe. I don't know if that makes some sense, what I'm trying to say there, but I don't need a visual. For me, this, I want the sound to take me on that vacation, or that sort of journey. I hate the word journey. It's so overused, but there's just something so ethereal about Skin that when I saw it when I heard it on ultrasound, I remember thinking like, wow. I mean, of course we know she's the queen of reinvention, but this sounds so different and so out there. I would love to know just how far she'll take that. Yeah, that's kind of where
And she showed us, yeah. And what's interesting, it's interesting that you say that, the hearing it, but we did see it on ultrasound, right? Like we saw her in the booth, because that was the whole joke about that it was called Flirtation Dance. And then in ultrasound, Kurt Loder brings that up and she's like, no.
Yeah. Did you change that song title? No.
Yeah. And she, then it becomes Skin. And the track that's played in ultrasound is a little bit different from what we get on the final of the record. And then Marius de Vries, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but that's how I'm going to interpret it, talks about in the Spin interview from 1988 and the 20th anniversary interview in Billboard from 2018, he talks about how that was one of the 4 songs that he came in toward the end of the recording sessions. And of the 4 that he worked on, that was the one that he had the most to contribute to from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And he sort of talked about how he worked on sort of reining in what they were doing, that it had been pretty wild, and he tried to give it a little more structure. The Moroccan influences came from him. There's the recording of his kid at the end. Mm-hmm. But for me, what was interesting was revisiting some of her interviews from the time period and then looking back over the lyrics. She cited, I mean, obviously at the time she was really into Bjork and folks like that, but I had forgotten that she called out Fiona Apple. And then after I saw that and I read these lyrics, I was like, oh, wow, this song is like Fiona Apple meets Bjork lyrics.
That's interesting.
Because do I know you from somewhere? Why do you leave me wanting more? Why do all the things I say sound like the stupid things I said before? That sounds very Fiona Apple. It sounds very Madonna. That sort of like, oh, I did this thing and I'm going to think about it from this framework. While still maintaining the power in the situation, which is something that she does very well lyrically. Even when she shows vulnerability and regret, she's still in control. I so admire that. But then it goes into the sort of, go on, yes.
No, so I was just going to say, I want to clarify. To me, it's not a lyric thing that annoys me about Skin. I think for me, and Liberty, maybe you can help me sort of come to terms with what it is I'm resisting on it. To me, it's more of a sonic. It's a sound thing in terms of the notes that either she's singing and or the music is also reaffirming. So there's something about the it's almost like there's a flatness that happens on the like. Do I know you from somewhere? Why do you leave me wanting more? It's that one note sometimes is the thing that I hear a lot in that song. That's what jumps out to me, is that more, that like down note. And there's something about that makes it not like an enjoyable listen to
what
me.
is the term for that, Liberty? Decrescendo, or
oh gosh, I
forget what it, or
I don't know. I'm not I mean, I know music, but I'm not very like I'm not very trained. I just be like, yo, that be sounding good. That's how I operate.
That's too funny.
No,
it is interesting. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say that sounds a little like I'm sort of getting some flashbacks here, right? Stefan and I work a little bit on songs. It is something that we do partially because creation is what fuels us, but also because, it's sort of our homage, right? We love to sort of pump up our fandom by making songs that give us sort of a connection somehow to our love for Madonna.
The music that you and I like to collaborate on and create is definitely music that we want to listen to, music that we enjoy, music that we feel has been inspired by Madonna, and also is a wink and a nod to Madonna in and of itself, whether it be a lyric play and or content or subject matter related to Madonna.
But the notes in that song that she sings aren't happy. Which isn't necessarily to say that you like or prefer happy music, but you are a dancer. You love to feel inspired to sort of move and to groove and to like be happy. And I think that Skin has a darkness to it.
It's also the contradiction to what you're saying, Liberty, because that's what I was about to say, that it's got these sort of Madonna lyrics, but then it has the Patrick Leonard melody that's very familiar if you sing it a cappella, but then it's got this sort of messy, chaotic beats per minute orbit production that who knows what it would have been like before Marius came in and sort of streamlined it. And then even within the production, the layers are in contradiction, right? Like you've got that super fast 120 whatever percussion, and it's over top of the bass. That was something I noticed today on my last re-listen through. I was like, where's the bass? Like it has bass. You can hear it in the. I had to put on my Beats headphones and really like turn up the volume and like listen closely. But I'm like, how would this play in the club? Like it wouldn't, that the actual bass line is almost muffled in a way that is kind of similar to how the bass plays in Shanti, but you hear it more because there's less layers of instrumentation going on over top of it. So to Liberty's point about the sadness of the singing and the lyric and the notes, well, the other contradiction is, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, this record is relatively unsexy, but yet this is like the sexiest song on the record. And it's totally, but it's got that contradiction of touch me, I'm trying, kiss me, I'm dying, put your hands on my skin. But there's like all this regret. So it's like this sort of thwarted desire, which is also standard Madonna, but it's also happening in like this new way. Yeah, so there's like all these contradictions that sort of don't make sense within the song. And so I could see from what you're saying about the note, do you think that was part of what's happening there? And how do you feel about it now, Stefan, after your week of re-listen?
Yeah, after my week of re-listen, and I think because so many people lovingly reached out when I posted about the episode saying, how could you skip Skin now? This is outrageous. And it struck me as funny. And I think I now sort of have a little kinship for Skin because of this whole episode, you know, happening and everyone reacting. Like I guess in my head, I never assumed Skin was a big song for people because it was never a big song for me. So in my head, I'm just like, oh, nobody likes Skin. Everyone skips Skin. And so when I said that and everyone was like, what? Like, I'm like, seriously? Everyone likes Skin this much? Like, I was a bit surprised.
Yeah.
And so now, like, I've re-listened to it and re-listened. Probably every day I've listened to it like once or twice just to sort of be like, okay, let me, 25 years later, let me forgo where I was when I first took the album in and re-listen to it again as if it's a new Madonna song that I've just been privy to hearing, or like a B-side that we never heard before. And I do appreciate it. And I do think there is parts of it that's catchy. I still would love to hear a reproduced version of it with some of different instrumentation. And I did Google and look for a remix just to sort of see if there was something out there. And there's actually a Peter Rohofer and Victor Calderone collaboration remix, which I had never heard before. A little anticlimactic. I kind of expected a little bit more from Peter Rohofer and Victor Calderone together, but it strips out the sound of the album and gives it a more club feel to it. And I still feel like they could have taken it a bit further and done a little bit more with it, but it was interesting to sort of hear it. And that was where I sort of came to the conclusion that it's still her notes. It's still the melody that she's singing a little bit is not as pleasing to the ear as maybe I would want. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad song, but I will also say, before Drown World Tour, before we had a performance of Candy Perfume Girl and Skin were usually the two songs that I would always jump past. So it'd be the 1, 2, 3 of Drown World, Substitute for Love, Swim, Ray of Light. And then I'd fast track to Nothing Really Matters. That was like my Ray of Light experience when I first consumed the album, just because I loved Nothing Really Matters and I just could not sit through Candy Perfume Girl or Skin to wait to get to it.
So interesting. See,
It
Skin,
really is.
the lyrics and the delivery on Skin are so in my creative wheelhouse, because I had an editor 2 years ago describe most of my work as sexy sad. And I was like, I'll own that. And I feel like Skin is in that same vein, that it's not euphoric. It's not happy. I mean, imagine thinking about yourself. Why do all the things I say sound like the stupid things I've said before? Like, that's owning some beep, you know, like,
Right.
and, you know, part of the weight of that lyric comes from the fact of who's singing it in this context. Like, for the rest of us, that wouldn't necessarily mean as much, but I think for her, at that time or even now, that's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Did either of you, so of course, somebody mentioned in the live episode that Skin was supposed to be the 5th, well, I guess technically the 6th. In the US, we only got 4. They got 5 everywhere else. It was supposed to be the last single from Ray of Light, but got shunted so Beautiful Stranger could come out. But I could only find that in 2 places, nothing official, that it actually was a thing. So, and I don't remember hearing that back in the day when the record was still, you know, sort of cycling. I don't ever remember hearing that.
I don't remember hearing that either.
And I love the song, but is it single material? Not without a complete overhaul. Like, radio would not have played it in its album track form in 1999. Like, I mean, we were at the height of the TRL pop era. I mean, it's notwithstanding that, you know, Nothing Really Matters went to what, 93 on the Hot 100, and then Beautiful Stranger went to what, number 2? It didn't go to number 1, but it went top 10.
And I, no disrespect to Beautiful Stranger, because I like the song, but at the time I really thought, this is like very basic considering the whole album Ray of Light. Like, for this to come after, I kept thinking, like, why this direction? This seems so elementary in contrast to me what is such a, you know, such a highs and lows and emotional album of Ray of Light. Maybe we, you know, need that, right, where it's like there's so much going on, and so we need like a happy fun little ditty, which to me Beautiful Stranger is.
I thought she was just cashing a check.
And see, I was so happy when Beautiful Stranger.
Oh, I love Beautiful Stranger.
When Beautiful Stranger came out, I was like on repeat, constant, because it's so silly and so dancey, and just like Madonna in the video being like,
it was
as
funny,
ridiculous as Austin Powers, and like being super sexy. And
well, it's funny because at the time I just was like, I'm happy that it is so successful, that everybody likes it. I'm happy for Madonna, because I always think, if Madonna fails, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I do take it personally when Madonna doesn't have everything perfect and number, exactly as it should sound, even though I'm going to like it no matter what. But I take it personally when other people, don't see what I see. Okay, that said, I was, not expecting, and maybe that's part of why I wasn't so like in love with Beautiful Stranger, because I was like, wait a minute, all of a sudden everybody loves her. You all just love Madonna now. Like, what is, why is that okay? Why is Beautiful Stranger? And maybe it is the camp, the fun, the Austin Powers was so big at the time.
Oh yeah.
Well,
people loved
she
it.
looked beautiful.
She looked amazing.
Gorgeous.
There's also the factor of the fact that she was doing it with Mike Myers. And, Madonna, the actress, the comedian, the performer, yada, yada, yada. Like, she also, for all her sort of like stainless steel titanium persona, right? When there are people that she clearly trusts and admires and values their talent the way that she did Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. I mean, she did two of her best comedic performances ever in the Wayne's World fantasy.
Wayne's World.
And then, Coffee Talk, where she was, my God, like one of the funniest things ever. So she had that trust with Mike. And so, like, I hate to admit it, but some of her best acting ever was in the Beautiful Stranger video. And she was super funny. And it was so because it didn't feel arch and it didn't feel, there wasn't like a guard keeping you from like connecting. And it was so genuine. And as somebody who was like, we were all in our 20s at that point, but there was Madonna at like basically going on 41, just looking amazing and totally like going down that Tina Turner redefining how you age avenue in like the best way. And I'm with you, Liberty. Like, it's not the best song and it's total camp and cheese. And I just assume, Mike asked her, and it was New Line Warner Brothers. So they probably offered her like a ridiculous amount of money. And which is interesting because Beautiful Stranger is basically like a prototype camp version of Impressive Instant, which is much more artful and interesting, but they're like literally about the exact same thing.
Or amazing.
I love.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one.
Well, sonically amazing, but thematically it's impressive.
Well, and Ray of Light too.
Right.
Yeah. If you listen to the remix of Ray of Light, it has the same exact beat structure as Amazing and Beautiful Stranger. Like those, I've always wanted. We've tried to get William Orbit on the show multiple times, and I've finally given up that he's never coming on. But I've always wanted to have him on the show because I don't think I've ever heard anyone ask him, was that intentional, that you were making a nod to let's have the same beat structure and see if we can create 3 separate songs that sort of sound alike but are completely different. And that's Beautiful Stranger. That's Ray of Light, Beautiful Stranger, and Amazing. All 3 of those songs are basically like, they're like sisters to each other.
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring up that remix that you mentioned of Skin because I heard that once on YouTube and I was like, no, thank you. Goodbye.
It didn't. I felt like, again, with any song that sort of gets a subpar remix, I feel like Skin deserves a better remix than that. I felt like there is potential for somebody to take that and sort of like really reinvent that song and make it amazing.
Let's tweet offer Nissim because I feel like he would do
amazing.
That absolutely, Offer Nissim is the person that should remix Skin. If she ever does Veronica Electronica,
like a 30th anniversary, the 30th anniversary of Ray of Light, and that would be the perfect time to have all of those songs reinvented in some way, and like every single song. I would love to hear just put out that album completely redone.
Don't even put out Ray of Light. Just call it. Actually, finally put out Veronica
Electronica.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would
has to be on there with a fucking disco remix. Like, make it happen. Like,
yes,
I want it. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I have a definite. Skin has become more elevated over the past week.
Okay, good.
In terms of how I feel about it, how I look at it. It's still, I don't think it will be, like a go-to song on Ray of Light for me, but it definitely, I will probably keep it on now when I hear it, because I'll be like, oh, it's Skin. There's a little, it's like a little hug that I'm giving the song now.
So does that mean it ranks at number 12 instead of 13?
I'm trying to think of, did you all read the Billboard article no, it was Billboard, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Billboard. That's why I asked, because it was the Billboard article about the
Billboard
ranking.
ranked all of the songs, and I was shocked that they ranked Skin at number 5. Like they gave it some high praise, and I thought, see, I don't know about that. And also because they ranked Swim much lower, and I thought, oh, how dare they? Swim, that was cruel. Love Swim. Swim is such a great song, and
I love Swim too. But
ranked it lower than Skin. I was like, no, Billboard, get off my block.
The lyrics to Swim have not aged well. Like, as a writer, I can admit that, even though I love Swim.
I think I just
they're more memorable than Skin.
Liberty has basically called me basic for because I tend to I like easy basic songs like Beautiful Stranger or Swim.
Wait, what's your number 1 on Ray of Light?
Didn't I say Frozen? I think Frozen would have to be my
Frozen.
number 1.
Yeah, that's pretty basic, because that's what
it was. Just it set the tone for the album. But like I said, I adore Ray of Light. I adore Power of Goodbye. Nothing really matters. Like those, the singles would definitely be like top 5. But Sky Fits Heaven. Oh, put me on a treadmill and cue up a little Sky Fits Heaven, and I'm good to go.
I used to run my fastest racing times back in the 90s to Sky Fits Heaven. Oh my goodness.
It's a good one. Those drums, come on.
Yeah.
What about you, Liberty? What's your take on that Billboard ranking?
I found it okay. I wasn't. Most of those things I always sort of grain of salt. Other people's opinions are always okay. Yeah, you think that. It changes all the time. How can you rank them? That's what I guess I mean. Every time you listen to the album, you should be picking up something different, because look, it's 25 years old. Okay. And that's where I was 25 years ago, first hearing the album, to where I am today, hearing the album now, 25 years later, the things that have happened to me or whatever, I still will hear a song in a different way. So, today I love Swim. Tomorrow I will love, I don't know, Power of Goodbye. I don't know. I just don't really care. I don't care what these people say, because it's just you can rank them. You can decide, this one is sonically more advanced or has something more to offer lyrically.
It's clickbait. That's all it is.
It's clickbait, but it's also part of like fandom. I'm a child of the internet message boards of the mid to late 90s. And so I remember engaging in these conversations with people. It wasn't Drown Madonna, but there was one of the other early Madonna sites.
Madonna-rama.
Madonna-licious.
Madonna Nation.
No, Edward didn't have message boards. It was a different one.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure. I feel like I was in it.
If Madonna-rama, I didn't think Madonna-rama
I made a name for every freaking message board there was. We probably talked before on message boards.
We probably did. Well, I will tell you, oh my God. Okay, just quick sidebar. When I won the MTV contest to be in the pit at Madison Square Garden for Reinvention, I kid you not, we had to show up at 5:30 at the box office at MSG, and we got to go backstage and tour, and we met Tony and Tamara and hung, the big rug where they're like putting the microphone up somebody's behind in I'm Going to Tell You a Secret. We got to lay down on that rug and hang out with everybody. Anyway, I was on the stage right pit. 3 of the people in that pit, one was from France, one was from Italy, and one was from Hawaii. And the 4 of us all knew each other from the message boards.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And got to meet in person that night. We had all won that contest and we're in the pit. So the power of the old internet. But So, this was like a discourse that happened on those boards all the time. And I always enjoyed it because I like to hear what parts of songs like attracted other people, which is why Stefan totally skipping Skin. I was like, oh my God, there's like all these so intense, beautiful, amazing, creative elements. And like, I just love, the lyrics are pretty simple. there's actually only like 14 actual lyrics to the song. It's mostly repetition. There's more lyrics than Bad Romance, but like there's like, it's still very repetitive, but not in that nursery rhyme kind of way. But so much of it was like the delivery and like how she sells it. So I had never even thought about how it was like sexy sad until we were just having this conversation. But I like the rankings and the discussions because for me, it challenges sometimes what I think about the work, because Ray of Light is definitely something I think of as a complete and singular work of art that is greater than the sum of its parts. But I'm very fascinated by how so many other people feel that same way, but then weigh the parts differently. And that very interesting alchemy of how people intake art, because it is art. Like Ray of Light is a work of art. Like if anything that she's put out, it is absolutely a work of art and functions as a whole, with a galaxy of its pieces. And so seeing how other people sort of work within those pieces of that galaxy to me is like super crazy fascinating, and sort of like an eye into how her appeal is so vast in ways that we don't appreciate as much now as maybe we did back then. So
I guess at that time it was still, it was the erotica era was still a little fresh, in people's minds, but they were so happy, I think, that she seemed to have, closed that door, so to speak, that metaphorical, like I'm super sexy, look at me door, to be more,
little
ethereal.
Did we know.
Right.
And I think, and I guess I do often listen to her records thinking about why is she writing this, right? What's going on in her life, that this is the mood, this is the feeling, this is the experience. What does, for example, for Skin, right? Who is she thinking about? Who is she, or is this a third, like written in first person, thought about in sort of third person? She heard it about that, or heard it from, about someone's experience. But it's almost like, as a woman listener, female listener, I can say that it is this, you think you're saying stupid stuff, you want to flirt, you want to look cute, but you also want, their attention. And then it sort of spirals into this maniacal, sort of scream. I don't know how to explain that, but it could also sort of be, this is going to be very out there, so please don't judge me. Female orgasm, sort of this, it takes a long time to get there, right? And some things are repeated over and over, but finally you get there and it's like, you have to scream it out.
100%. There is, even in the sad sexy of the song and sort of the sad delivery of the lyrics and the vocals that Stefan was talking about, after every verse and chorus, there is another layer of percussion or keyboard or instrumentation. You get to the end. I think I counted earlier today. There were like 9 layers. I was like, I wish we had the stems for this.
Oh, can you imagine?
So that you could like isolate all the different parts of what's going on at the end of that song. And I totally agree with you, because that's why I always say when people are like, oh, it was sexless, I'm like, did you listen to Skin? Because she basically she literally is so hot to trot for somebody that she's totally effed it up with, that like, and then she's thinking about it, and like the song literally culminates in like the big O. Like, oh yeah. 100%.
Well, just the fact that she originally called it flirtation dance.
Yes,
that's the key right there, is to know that like that's what she's talking about. It's
I don't remember finding that out until like
it was an ultrasound
years later.
That was
It was?
Oh yeah, flirtation
I might have
dance
been a little high.
wasn't flirtation dance on the lyric sheet that was
Yes.
on the
And then
stand in the
she had
booth,
crossed-
and she had crossed it
they
out.
captured it, and then I think
shit.
she must have, like, when Kurt Loder called it out, she must have crossed it out because she
Yeah.
thought that they were going to see it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
All
good.
right, I'm gonna have to rewatch.
I know that
Yeah.
we said we weren't going to do a This Week in Chaconi, but I actually did want to bring up the fact there was a rumor that we saw online that it's going around that she might be doing a new documentary. So the biopic has been sunk, but Madonna might be doing a documentary. Now I'm wondering if it'll be documentary in the style of Truth or Dare, I'm going to tell you a secret, where it's just following her around the tour of Celebration, or if it'll be Celebration in the background, but then there will be like a historical context to the documentary, like the Janet Jackson documentary.
I just had my mind blown because I had a whole thought like that would be so amazing is if there is something like that in the process, then it would be really cool if, okay, we get to see the Celebration performance of, I don't know, let's just say La Isla Bonita, right? But then it's sort of, I don't know if flashback is the right word, or it sort of is juxtaposed with, you know, like the memory sequence of, you know, either footage of the actual recording of La Isla Bonita, or the moment they were like, we gave this to Michael Jackson, but we thought maybe you would like it better, or, you know, I don't know, just any of those little, you know, historical, maybe that's all what you were going to say. And I just got a little bit excited. And I think that would be even better than a biopic almost, just because I think, especially while she's living, I'm not ready for a biopic.
And she could be in it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
The reason why I was never overly thrilled about the biopic was because she wasn't going to be involved. You know, yeah, she's directing and she's writing, but I want to see her. I want her to talk about it.
I would watch this biopic if it had been made, because I even have a DVD of, what is that, Innocence Lost?
Oh,
okay,
Lord.
like,
Oh my God.
I watch it all.
I'm sorry.
But listen, I bought it in Europe. Okay, it's like a collector's thing. But yeah, I would totally, I would love that, because I think it would sort of, it would bridge this. You know, of course, we want to see her on film, and we want to see the process, and we want to see all of those things. Those to me, that is much more interesting. And it relieves us from this constant need to know what's going on in her personal life, because while all of that is fascinating, and while all of that is surely an interest for a lot of fans, it's also still hers, and it should be hers alone. And I don't necessarily think that just because she's a celebrity, that she owes us her personal life story.
I don't necessarily, when I read that story and I thought about it some while I was out walking today, I was like, I don't think it will necessarily be Truth or Dare or Going to Tell You a Secret-ish. I could see her doing a sort of documentary take on the recent Springsteen Broadway show and the thing that Bono has been doing, where she takes the songs and it really is finally about the music and not about
her.
The not even her, just
the
sort
drama
of like
or the
cacophony of what surrounds everything. You know, we're not going to get any sort of like, where's Don Draper?
Right.
I'm waiting. Like, it's not going to be that. It's going to be, you know, oh, Skin was about da 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 da, and I wrote it about Andy Bird.
Almost like a VH1 behind the music, but
storytellers,
done a bit smarter, you know.
Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to give you a little something that I had.
Give us something.
Give you a little treat. Please remember,
don't leave us wanting more.
I am not a singer, but for this moment, you will have to endure me doing a little bit of singing. Enjoyed that.
I very much enjoyed it. I appreciated the homage to, you know, one of my top 3 songs on her just most amazing album.
I mean, I don't know, Stefan. It kind of sounds like you do like this song.
I was about to say.
Hey, if we're gonna do an episode about Skin, I have to do a little homage. It's because, like I told you, It's not that I don't like the song. It wasn't one of my favorites on the album. But like
there's always one.
New appreciation.
Correct.
Yes, 25 years later.
And who knows? Maybe Liberty and I will blow out that homage song a little bit, and you'll hear that on a future episode.
Yes.
I would not be mad at that. I'm gonna say, I'm into it.
I bet you are.
I am. I love this song. I would probably put it at my number 2 after Drowned World, Substitute for Love.
Oh wow, that high. Okay.
Let's be honest. Drowned World, Substitute for Love is the best song on Ray of Light. Fight me.
I won't fight you because you aren't wrong.
Stefan is like making a face.
I'm not saying anything anymore.
It took, I mean, for me, I'll say this about Skin just as a final point. Skin for me did what Ray of Light didn't, which was go somewhere different. Because Ray of Light was different, but I felt like Skin really took, it pushed it went over a different cliff, which is what I love when Madonna does that. Like bedtime stories.
Yeah. Okay. You get, that's quote of the night, as we say in my Mahjong group. That is the quote of the night.
Quote of the night.
Quote of the night. Absolutely. Okay. But yeah, that bridge on Drowned World that starts out famous faces far.
Oh yeah, that's insane.
When she climbs those notes, I actually have a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, God is real.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the version she did on Confessions tour.
Oh my God! Yeah. Don't even get me started.
Absolutely heavenly.
Beautiful.
We can do anything.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that was so. When she said that, I'm like, oh, that is so 1987 Madonna. Like, where are we and what is happening? Even the little squeaky tone when she said that, I was like, wait, what? Did I just travel through time? Like, yeah. Oh my God, we love her.
We do.
Right. It's not a Madonna record without a hum and a yeah.
Or a yeah.
And a dream.
Oh my God. So funny. I have a friend who jokes all the time, and because my mom on the phone, she will be like, yeah. And then so when Madonna put out that celebration song, and she's like, yeah. So my friend, when we would talk about stuff, he would just randomly go, yeah. And I'm just like, will you stop that? That is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Okay, that was way off topic, but anyway.
That's all right.
All right, you too.
This was lovely. We've
Thanks
saved you,
for
Stefan.
helping me
You're
get in touch with my skin.
You did. You wanted to make a connection.
I know. You're not like this all the time, so it's good.
But you've got this thing. And you needed our protection.
That's
you really did.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. And we really appreciate your listenership. It means so much to us. And
really do.
Yeah, because Liberty just wants to go to bed. She's like, I've been sleeping on the ground in a sleeping bag in a tent in the desert. So I'm ready to go to bed on my pillow top.
And I'm going to go make another martini. So
she's like, I'm going to have a cup of chamomile tea and go to sleep on my pillow top.
Yes, if I make it, I might just fall asleep right here on this.
She's going to put her hand on her pillow.
That's right.
Exactly.
We'll go to bed.
Oh.